absolutely impossible, you would still need a help desk to help your users somehow. I don't know why they need it, but they still need the help. That's why users, idiots, we always call them that. Help desk is important. Service management cannot be done anyway. The second question was, which came from the jury, is project management a part of service management or vice versa? A project management, as I said, delivers a service or a product which probably has been created afresh. But in order for that application or that product or service to remain functional, you need to have a help desk or a support system in place. Project management and service management overlap in several areas. For example, if you look at the way release happens, when you're releasing something to production, you're basically introducing it to the users. You need to make sure that your help desk is aware of what kind of functionality is being released so that they will answer the questions. The second part is you're doing transition, you're doing knowledge management. That essentially is something which is a part of a project schedule, a part of a project plan. But it is also the bridge into service delivery, into service management. So I think it's almost inconsequential for us to argue over the fact whether project management is important or not. If you're not going to focus on service management, your project management efforts might go completely wrong. The problems you're highlighting about bugs, about requirements, about having things which do not work, they are problems in any processes. They are not related to just project management. Even if you do not know your service designed properly, service design is the first phase of a service being defined for any organization. If you do not know your service designed properly, you will face the same issues over there. So rather than focusing on saying that this part of requirements is not being fulfilled, my basic question to you is, can you conceive that any product can be implemented in any organization without having service? And
a small interjection. Let me understand. Help me understand. How would it not matter to me if I get 20 change requests raised a day and 10?
I think that's not my question at all.
No, let me. It has a context. It has a context. I'll come to that. If I say 20 change requests I get daily, and then I say I get 10 change requests, would it be better? Which one would be better? And you appreciate the thought that you would say 10 change requests is a better thing. Why this? Why the downsizing in this? Precisely because the project is most robust, the delivery is whatever required that has been presented in a right way, and our help desk is not going to become a help desk. Right?
I think we are basically disagreeing on something here, so let me elaborate on that. And let me give you a very common scenario, especially in my line of work where we are dealing with the financial services industry. Suppose we deliver a product which fulfills all its requirements, and this also ties in very well with what Mohit and Mr. were discussing earlier. When we talk about projects, once you have delivered a product, the moment you start getting more change requests which are due to defects, I agree, that's a problem with the project management piece of it. But what about when your market itself changes? You will get change requests.
Yes. I don't have second opinion about that.
Exactly. Why exactly are you fixated on only the bug fix part of the service management and saying that if a good project management has been done, you will not get bug fixes?
No, I did not say. That's why I gave you the 20.
That is what we have been contending. Let me complete my point now. The whole point of having a service desk is that not only do you report bugs, you also report any other thing which is being observed across the organization. Let me give you a very common example which all of us face. All of us work with, most of us have an account with ICICI Bank, largest private sector bank. We call up the help desk for things which are as simple as going to an ATM and doing something. We are not exactly reporting a problem. We are not exactly reporting a problem with our account either. We are just asking for information which, if some of us spend time, it is probably there in our account already. You cannot deliver a service without service management. And that remains my contention, and I am waiting for you to give me a valid point to contradict that opinion.
Zafar, a question for you. Can you tell us where does the project management end, or where does the service management start? What is the handshake between these two?
Okay. Once we have completed, measures against the baseline, what was the requirement? Got a client acceptance, the project, closed that, archive the lesson learned, done. This is the closure of the project. Next, we hand over the project to the service management team, and from there they would drive the sustenance part of it. So when you ask me to the point, this is one point where we end the project, because project has to end. Eventually a project, if we are talking about the project management in that perspective, it has to be a definite end. And there it ends. and then comes in picture a service team which takes the handover. And again, while service team is taking care of the things, it may evolve more projects out of the efficient service management, which I agree with Ashish. So later on we can have another project evolving because out of the whatever services we got, we learned something more maturity has come up, and we come up with another project which we take another. So this is how handshaking happens.
So Ashish, what are your comments on this?
Sir, I personally feel that for us as practitioners, it is useful to debate the point that where does project management end and where does service management start. But I prefer to look at it from the perspective of the organization overall. If project management, as Zafar has been pointing out consistently, that if project management is not done well, if you haven't done the scoping correctly, you'll probably end up with a product which does not satisfy what you eventually want. But I also want to say that if we stop at just that, the organization will just be left with a product which satisfies something but is not useful. I prefer to look at it from a more holistic perspective and not say that this service management is bad or project management is better. I would say that unless you have completed the cycle and make sure that the users have something useful to work with, I don't think we have fulfilled our obligation as project managers, as consultants, as practitioners.
So actually the service management, you have this five phases, right? So the initial phase of the service management, okay, does that not get into the project management part?
That is what I was saying earlier, that there are places where project management and service management overlap. For example, and in fact, if you look at the ITSM PO itself, they also have this connection established there. That when you're talking about transitioning, when you're talking about release management, you're essentially venturing into a space which is occupied by both project management and release management. Even if you look at any kind of a implementation rollout, let's leave aside the jargon of quality and project management aside. When you're talking about rolling out an application, a new product, into any organization, one of the biggest things that you do is change management. Now, change management is something which can be either treated as a part of the project, or you can treat it as a part of the initial service transition. So it is good to debate on semantics, it is good to talk about the different terminologies, but I prefer to look at it holistically. I don't think we will ever have project managers and service managers handling things. There will be a common team deploying an application, and that is the way it works.
Ashish, one thing here, what I think is nothing to do what you said, just to add a point. Excellent project management will give birth to the new visions. How? If iPhone 3G has been delivered, it has good market, okay? And obviously, if we stuck with fixing the issues and service management, and because the project has not been taken in a right spirit, there are so many defects and so many things are not working, we roll out that project. Apple will withdraw 3G. Right? If project has been effectively done and complemented with excellent service management, that has given right to 3GS and eventually the 4G and in next month 5G. So this is how both complement each other. Project management, if done effectively, that would lead to, and along with the complemented by service management, that would give birth to that vision, to more strategies, to more opportunities. And if not done properly, you remain in a dilemma, you get engaged most of the time fixing the issues, first stabilizing the existing version, existing project, and you would not able to move ahead. So that's why what I say, project, if done effectively, efficiently, would definitely, it's against
both I was sticking to the same positions. I'm going to move this debate a bit forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just to
So, Zafar, one question.
I just have a question. Sure. What's your view on, do you know a product wherein you don't really need a service management, or you are of the opinion that any product or a service which is made has to have a service management?
Again, in my view, you really cannot have any product, IT product, without some level of service. Now, having service management does not mean that you have the entire gamut of services associated with it. For example, if we are users of Gmail, that's basically a SaaS application. We are basically getting into Gmail, creating an account, and getting out of it. And the minimal service support that we have is that we have the help in Gmail, and we have at max an email ID where we can send some queries and not expect a response. On the other hand, if we have an enterprise email service for us, most of us have Outlook or something like that, for that we have a help desk, for that we usually have a person whom we can call. So even if a product does not have a very extensive requirement for service support, there will be still something there. Let's put it this way. If we are going to use anything which is new for us, we need somebody to ask that question, how do we use it? It's normal human tendency. Even if we are sure about how to use something, we still ask somebody, yaar, aise hi karte hain. It's natural. And even if you end up creating a service just for the sake of creating one, I think it looks very good on pamphlets when you say that we offer 24/7 support. That's another thing that when you dial that number, nobody picks up the call. But at least it becomes a selling point as well. So my point will remain that it's probably not possible.
Just to continue on the same question, I wanted to provoke your thoughts. I take the example of a parachute. Someone jumps out of the plane, and parachute functions or doesn't function. It's a product, right? To me, the function of parachute starts after I grab it and jump off until the time I land. The function of the product for me ends. Where is the service management coming to picture if I have a problem with the parachute?
Service management is when your wife sues the parachute company and gets a $1 billion settlement.
One thing, Ashish, for this, $1 million or $2 million cannot compensate the life. The person was the user has gone.
I just wanted to go. I agree. I get what you're saying, sir. And I think most of us seem to be, and in all honesty, Zafar, I know we are debating on this. I think we are basically agreeing on the fact that you cannot treat an IT organization just as a sum of its parts. We might have an IT support team, we might have a project management team. But in the end, unless both of them coordinate with each other to deliver a seamless experience to the user, IT in itself cannot be effective. That's my basic.
So Zafar, a question for you. Where does the design phase fit into the project management? Is it a service management phase or is it a project management phase?
I would still take it as a project management because design is a part of all those process areas. If we go, as per strictly the PMP, it comes into the project management, but eventually your design would lead to any unique product or service.
Actually, I disagree. And I know we are debating on semantics, which are basically not useful to anyone, but I still disagree. When you design something, you not only consider the design functionality, you also consider the maintainability of something that you put
Fundamental mistake. If you don't understand me and you digress me and put me to come into your code, that is a frontal want to intervention strongly. You want to say in the project management, we don't take care of the sustenance. We don't take care how long this would work.
No, excuse me. When you talk about a project, as we pointed out, and I agree with you, that's a finite endeavor which has an end date. Once your project is ended, how do you make sure that the design is sustainable?
No, design. What he talk about the design.
No, my point is that when you're designing your project, you're also designing the service part of it. Otherwise, your design is incomplete. And that is why I disagree with you and probably say that when you're designing the overall application, if you have not taken in the maintenance part of it, which is essentially a service delivery thing, you are not.
Ashish, is it mandatory to have the project management to hand it over to the service department?
Again, a question. And I think this ties in with what Mr. Zaveri was also saying, that whom is what is important. Who considers project management more important, who considers service management more important. If you have separate IT teams, in some cases you might be doing your development using an outsourced team also, and you're going to maintain your application using an in-house tool. In that case, the transition is pretty effective. You're basically doing a formal transition, there will be shadow support, and people will be basically working on it and making sure the transition happens. But suppose the same small team has delivered an application and is also getting into support, which happens with a lot of small products, where the same team is responsible for the maintenance as well as the development of new enhancements. It can be either. I'm not saying that the transition has to necessarily happen between two teams, but it has to be taken care of. You need to think about it. That's it.
Ashish, one small thing. The chair you are sitting on, if it's not taken all the biological aspects, the manufacturer did not take the biological aspects of it. You are using it. No defects in that, you are using it. But somewhere down the line, you develop a kind of back pain and you diagnose that it was the kind of chair on which you were seated. That was not considering all these things while the design. Now help me understand. Because the defect was in that, it transferred that its own defect into you as a disease. How service management is going to help here? Because I think the